Hello YouTube, this is Mr. Saska Dragon, part of Teamwataponuk UK here. This is part 2 of my mini-series about elemental heroes. Now this is about traps. Basically there's a lot of different types of trap cards you could actually use to build your elemental hero deck. You've got things like double warning, double bottomless, double call, solemn judgment, trap dust shoot, hero signal, mirror horse, torrential, and compulse. Now a lot of these cards have a lot of things in common really. I mean, solemn warning basically negates the summon of a card of a monster, whereas bottomless basically destroys it when it comes on the field. Depending on what your opponent plays depends on what you want to use. I mean, these are just only a small minority of cards that you could use. There are so many other cards out there that you could use, but a lot of players are actually taking in trap dust shoot because of its basically what it does. I mean, if your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand, you can look at your opponent's hand and return one of the monsters back to their decks, which basically gives you an added bonus because then you see what's in their hand. I mean, a lot of people like to take in bottomless. Everyone says bottomless is a bad card this format, but I think bottomless is not, depending on what people are running. Sometimes warning is a good card to use, but then if you want to use bottomless, it's easier because solemn warning you have to pay about 4 grand because everyone runs it at 2, and sometimes in a sticky situation you don't have 2,000 life points to pay. Whereas bottomless, once it hits the field, it goes bye bye, so your opponent doesn't really know what's going on. Double call basically has to be stable in this format because since Konami took it from like limited to semi-limited, it makes the game more interesting. So if you use one, you still got backup. With compulsory even better. I mean, your opponent summons, bye-bye, goes back to the extra deck. Unless they're summoning something like Judgment Dragon, which I really hate, but we won't go into that. Compulsory is pretty good. The only card I don't like in the setup here is probably Solemn Judgment. Everyone really seems to love Solemn Judgment. Everyone's like, oh yeah, but you must play the 3 Solemns. Personally, I don't think it's right because Solemn Judgment's not too bad, whereas Solemn Warning basically is so much better. Solemn Judgment, you have to pay half your life points. I mean, if you got 2 Solemn Warnings face down, then yeah, use Solemn Judgment. But then if you don't want to use Solemn Judgment and Solemn Warning, then basically use 2 bottomless. Yeah, there are so many other cards you could use. I mean, everyone says Torrential's a bad card half the time. They rather use a Solemn Judgment than rather Torrential, or use a compulsory instead of Solemn Judgment, or basically use other cards. So there's so many different cards that you could use. I mean, everyone says Mirror Force is a bad card because of the 3 MSTs and the Heavy Storm. Whereas if your opponent doesn't know it's coming, well. But to be honest, as I've seen on YouTube over the past few weeks, some guy in America basically has about a torrential face down and a Solemn Judgment. And then basically he activates Solemn Judgment to stop his torrential getting blown off the field because of the guy activates Heavy Storm. Then all the guy does is basically attack him for game, and that's it, he's dead. So he paid half his life points. To be honest, I would rather use Solemn Warning than Solemn Judgment. 2,000 life points is so much better than actually paying out half your life points. I mean, if you're just starting off the duel and you don't have things like Bottomless or Torrential or even a Mirror Force in your hand, if you're running that kind of build, and then you're not really going to activate Solemn Judgment, are you, to negate the summon of a monster, or magical trap card in your first turn, are you really? I mean, that's just ridiculous and stupid if you're going to do that. But no, the few of these cards, I think they'll come really handy. I mean, even of course, not to mention that Hero Signal. Everyone says this is a rubbish card too. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. I mean, if your opponent doesn't blow it off the field, it's a good card to have because once one of your elemental heroes is blown off the field, you can special summon another one. So it really depends. I mean, Mirror Force is definitely a staple in the deck. So is Torrential, so is Compulsory. Double Call, obviously. But then it depends if you want Bottomless or you want Solemn Warning. Bottomless is a good card in every aspect, and so is Solemn Warning. One negates, one destroys, and removes from play. Solemn Judgment, no, I would just keep that out of my deck hands down. It's a really bad card to play this format. Everyone says it's good, but I think it's bad. Trap Dust Shoot is a must. It's basically a double-edged sword. As I said before, you get to look at your opponent's hand, and of course you get to pick one of their monsters and return it to the deck. So that makes it even better. You know, Hero Signal, well, I'll leave that up to you. Mirror Force, yeah. I mean, these are just a few cards that I've picked out randomly. I mean, when I actually start building my Lember to Hero deck, I'll probably be using a few of these cards. Probably like Solemn Warning, Double Call, a Compulsory, Torrential, and a Mirror Force, and a Trap Dust Shoot. Hero Signal I would probably put in as a tech card, depending on how the deck runs. Some Judgment I will keep out. But let me just hear what you think. It'd be interesting to see what you would put in your Elemental Hero deck build if you were basically going to build it. The next one will be about spell cards, so tune in when I do the next one. This is Mr. Sasuke Dragon out, part of Teamwataponuk UK. Peace.